And this is what we do with our clients. Like, this is why it's important that a protocol is done and it's not just randomly taken, because, okay, you're still going to get some benefits, but you want to get the most. You want to get the most. Paul, how are you, brother? You well?
I'm good, mate. And you're very well, I see, after being immersed in Ecuador, or no, El Salvador.
El Salvador. It was incredible.
It is completely regenerated.
Yeah, I feel amazing. Like, I've never felt so good in my life. Like, I think everybody needs to go to El Salvador, experience what it's like to be magnetically connected to a volcanic island, shirt off, barefoot on the grass, eating natural food all the time in a country where the sunrise and sunset never changes. Like, the circadian rhythm is just incredible. Plus, I'm going to be building something quite special there, so you can all come stay with me. Everyone's invited. There's a whole party. Come and stay.
And it's strange, though, right? It's you know, it's a place where there's food and there's nature, and you feel amazing.
Yeah.
Like, there's no secret to this stuff, is there?
Who'd have thought, right? Being back in touch with nature, being back outside and living that more natural lifestyle that we're actually akin to. Who'd have thought you'd feel so good?
Yeah. Crazy.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah, that's all we need to do. We just need to basically move everybody to El Salvador. I'm sure President Bukele would love that. Just always up front.
Price of land to go up. So we are going to follow on from our last one today, and bioregulators. We're going to talk about a couple of individual ones because there's a couple of slides I want to share where studies have shown just ridiculous benefits. And we're going to talk about Vladonix, which is a thymus peptide, and Endoluten, because they're the two main ones that are kind of used the most, I would have thought. Would you say?
Yeah, 100%. So the Vladonix is the thymus extract, and Endoluten is the pineal extract, just for anybody that's wondering before they start Googling everything. So they're the two that we're going to be talking about the most today. I'm going to pass the torch to Paul to go into depth about this and share his screen. So whenever you're ready, brother.
Yeah, so Vladonix, as you said, is a thymus peptide, and the thymus is basically immune function. And if people haven't worked it out, inflammation is always driven by the immune system, because it's the response of the immune system in the cell or in the part of the body that generates the inflammation, right? So if it's an injury and it's an acute inflammation, that's the immune system and those cells at the site of the injury working and dealing with the problem. If it's a systemic or an autoimmune issue, again, it's an immune system problem, right? So all inflammation is driven from the immune. And so anything that supports immune and doesn't regulate it, doesn't make it too highly functional, just makes it efficient, is always going to be beneficial, 100%. And so Vladonix, or the thymus peptide, is the one that regulates immune function. And it enhances activity of T cells and other immune cells, and it fights infection, chronic disease. It also does age reversal, as the thymus declines with age. So as that declines with age, our immune gets worse with age, and that Vladonix helps to reverse the age of that thymus gland. It's crazy.
Yeah.
The other thing is anti-aging, longevity, all of that stuff predicated on our immune system. It can't be emphasized how important it is. So if you've got a good immune system, you're going to have better resistance to infections. You're going to deal with viruses quicker. You're going to deal with other health-related problems quicker. You're going to be able to support autoimmune. So if anyone's got an autoimmune condition, then it can definitely help reduce the severity of those attacks and those flare-ups. It will help, obviously, with chronic diseases. There's a lot of talk about cancer support, cardiovascular disease, two biggest killers. So why wouldn't you want to put that as part of your protocol, whichever one you're dealing with? Recovery, stress, hormones. It just does everything the immune needs to do, just better. And like we said in the last one, the amount of things that create problems within our body and the toxicity, and well, like you experienced, right? You went away, you didn't have any of the EMFs that are around us every day. You didn't have all the rubbish food, the blue light, the fluorescent light, and the nonsense dark mornings and all the rest of it. You know, you go somewhere where it's a much more natural nature place, eating natural food that's not been adulterated and added all sorts of weird and wonderful chemicals, and all of a sudden, and it's someone with a pretty severe stomach issue, right, with a pretty severe autoimmune disease, has no issues whatsoever. Whereas if you'd have lived that life and eaten those foods in the UK, for example, you'd have been in bits.
Yep.
So what this does is takes our immune back to where it should be, and it's phenomenally beneficial. So that's the first one, and like I said, it's got a myriad of benefits and things that it can address. And then the endoluten, which is the pineal gland peptide, is even more important when it comes to regulating the biological rhythms of the body. Things like hormone balance, circadian rhythm, and that's that sleep-wake cycle. So it helps with melatonin production. It helps with jet lag. If you're having jet lag like you had, right, when you just flew back from the other side of the world, or what's more common is if you are a shift worker, it can really help with adjusting that biological clock, because you can't, you know, if you're having to go to work at 8 p.m. and you get home at 8 a.m., you try and sleep during the day, it's never the same. And this will really help to regulate that and kind of adjust that biological clock more. It helps with hormones. In majority of the hormones it helps with are, as we said, melatonin and serotonin, that kind of stuff, but also a lot of reproductive hormones. And that, again, you know, if you're having fertility issues, or one of the partners, men or women, are having fertility issues, it could be a really good addition to anything else that you're doing to try and help with that, right? Anti-aging wise, there's a telomere length benefit. It can lengthen telomere length, but getting that measured, I've come to understand recently that measurement is not that accurate anymore. It used to be the gold standard, right? It used to be the only thing they could measure for longevity, like how are you aging compared to your chronological age. But as it turns out, me and you can have the same telomere length, but you could live 20 years longer, because actually it's more down to an individual rather than a table that says, okay, if your telomere is 7.1 kb, then you're going to live to XYZ. It actually doesn't work that well. And so a lot of the places that measure it are almost kind of taking off their reports. Either way, lengthening it can be really beneficial. And so endoluten can do that in a really good way, slows down cellular aging, and therefore prevents premature aging, right? So it improves sleep, hormones, and also it helps with immune and age reversal, as you said. So there's a huge amount of things it does. And the two of them combined are even more powerful. It's just, you know, the things that these two things can bring to somebody with no other changes, right? And this is the downside to it, right? A lot of this stuff is being talked about in a way that says, actually, don't change your diet, don't change your training, exercise, you know, don't change your stress, don't change your sleep, just take these things and you'll still see benefit, which is actually not great, right? Because you want people to actually change everything else at the same time. But even if you don't, you'll see benefit. And we're going to look through a table where actually they were, let me try and get that shared screen up. They were told point blank, don't change anything else, right? Only take the either the pineal or the thymus, right?
Yep.
And in this first cohort, they call them elderly people, which I'd be in. I'm going to be in that pretty soon, of 60 to 74-year-olds. they had an average age, of 69. Mortality rate after 8 years was 13% in the group that didn't take anything. They just took some vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
The mortality rate after 12 years was 44%. So if you were 69 on average at the start, within 12 years, 44% of that cohort of people were probably going to die.
Okay.
They gave them one of the pineal capsules, or sorry, they gave them one bioregulator, the pineal, 2 capsules a day for 10 days a month. Just 10 days a month, right? Yeah. Remember, it wasn't like taking them every day. And that death rate went from 13.6 after 80 years to 8.5, which is, a decent percentage, I would say, especially if you're in the ones that survived.
Yeah, clinical significance right there.
Yeah, but after 12 years, the improvement was a 44% to 22%.
Wow.
22% death rate rather than 44%. Just taking the pineal gland peptide. That was it. Which is crazy. But then they went a little bit further and they decided we're going to go with an old people, they call this one, right? Older cohort between 75 and 89 years of age. So the first ones, again, an average of 80 years old. After 6 years, the percentage of death was 81.8. So 82% of them had died. They only did it for 6 years. They couldn't do it for 12 because by the time 6 years had gone, the majority of them passed away.
Yeah.
These are the ones just on the vitamins, right?
Yeah.
Another cohort who actually were older when they started, because the first ones were 80, these ones were 81 and a half. Just on the pineal bioregulator, their death rate went from 82% to 46%. Right, which is crazy. It's almost halved again. Just by taking one bioregulator. Then they decided, well, if one's good, 2 must be better. So they did the thymus and the pineal, right? The 2 that we've just spoken about together. That group of people were even older when they started, right? They were 82 as opposed to the 80-year-olds that started with just the vitamins. So 82 years old, 6 years later, the death rate has gone from 82% down to 33%. 33% death rate. Insane. From 82. I mean, that's just crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, there's nothing else that you're going to show me or anyone's going to show me that's as good as that for extending life.
That's insane.
I mean, and these are even older people.
You would be pissed if you were in the control group, wouldn't you?
Yeah, for sure.
You'd be dead.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be that bothered because most of you wouldn't be there.
No, exactly. Wow.
So,
I mean, wow.
It just shows how effective these things are. And when you put a real program together, which isn't just 2, it's 22 of them over a 12-month period, you imagine the benefits people are getting.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's crazy.
And this is what we do with our clients. Like, this is why it's important that a protocol is done and it's not just randomly taken, because you're still going to get some benefits, but you want to get the most. You want to get the most. Like, if you're looking at that, just taking the pineal and taking the pineal plus the thymus, that's from 44% to 33%. That's a significant difference just by taking that extra one peptide. Yeah. And if you just guessed it, you might not have got that result. So it's important that you actually know what you're doing here and don't guess. Like, that's a very important kind of caveat to add to this, I think.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about that in further episodes. But I think for now, that's a really good place to leave people with that thought that, wow, that even in older people, 82 years old, you can cut that rate from 82% in the next 6 years to 33%.
Exactly.
Not changing anything else, just taking those. It's exciting times, man.
And I think what's a great addition to that, to wrap that up, is people always say, oh, I'm too old now. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. There's always a time. If they can do it at 82 years old, if you're in your 60s or in your 50s, it's not too late. If you're in your 70s, it's not too late.
I had someone the other day who's 72 years old, and on their questionnaire, on their intake questionnaire, they said, I think it might be just a bit too late for me now. I'm like, okay, well, let's have a discussion about that then.
Let me show you something.
Suffering for 50 years. These symptoms, she's been having them for 50 years. Wow. And she goes, it's just too late now. And it's kind of, wow, okay. And I can understand it, right? It's hard as you get older. It's hard to be optimistic about getting your health under control because it's all your life, and it's just like, oh, do you know what? 70, how much longer have I really got? It's a bit much, isn't it? My aunt, who's 81, a few years ago, say about 4 years ago, I think her husband died after a very long marriage, and tragic, all the rest of it. He was a lovely man, etc. And I spoke to her the last year, so a few years after it had happened. She's now in her own apartment. She's fit and well, right? So she's driving. She's 81, right? She's driving. She's energetic. She looks after my 6.5-year-old sometimes, and just gets on the floor, plays with her, gets up, runs around. Like, really? I'm looking at her like, I'm feeling tired watching, right? And I said to her, look, obviously that whole chapter of your life had finished. How do you feel now at this stage of your life? How do you feel? And she went, I feel like it's just starting. 81, mate. I feel like it's just starting. Can't wait to travel more and do more and this, that, and that. Because obviously there's restrictions when you're married. Maybe there's some things you can't do that you want to do or whatever it is. And it's just like, right, let's go. At 81, I'm like, blimey, that's a goal, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So it's never too late. And a lot of the stuff we'll talk about going forward will be not about 81-year-olds. It'll be about 21-year-olds and 41-year-olds and people that are really, still got so much time to turn things around and make their life amazing. So more to come.
Amazing stuff. Thank you for sharing that story, brother. I think that's incredibly inspiring. So for anybody that's out there thinking it's too late, think about Paul's 81-year-old. Was it your aunt? Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about Paul's 81-year-old aunt who's literally just starting life now. There's never an excuse. There's always options. You either find a way or you make a way. And on that note, until next time, everybody, stay blessed, stay well. Paul, thank you for your time, brother. I'll speak to you soon.
Always a pleasure, mate. See you soon.